numbers.
Calls cost 76 pence plus £1.53 per minute from a BT landline. Other networks vary and mobiles cost considerably more.
Have I got PPI?
It was really great to receive money back that we were completely unaware that we were owed. Our son also got some money back. We would certainly recommend the service. You'd be foolish not to, as there's nothing to lose.
Find out if you've got a payment protection insurance claim with haveigotppi.com. Text FIND to 80800.
Have I got PPI.com?
That's FIND to 80800.
Mum! Mum! Yes? There are penguins in my room!
Nobody wants to wake up to a chilly home. So it's good to know that if your boiler breaks down, British Gas experts are here for a one-off repair or ongoing care. To find out more, call 0800 009 4620 or search British Gas. Conditions and exclusions apply.
With lots of space, intelligent safety systems and low fuel consumption, the Skoda Rapid Spaceback is pretty impressive. And if you buy yours before the 31st of March, we'll give you £2,500 minimum part exchange on your old car. So don't miss out. Make a rapid visit to your Skoda retailer today. Part exchange available on selected new Skoda models with Solutions Personal Contract Plan. Deposit from 0 to 30% subject to underwriting. £2,500 minimum part exchange on vehicles with 1 month valid MOT registered with the current owner for at least 3 months. Terms and conditions apply.
Shelagh Fogarty on LBC.
Jeffrey Archer is here. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
I've already got you to sign a book for my Auntie Nance, who's a huge fan, which is very kind of you.
Not at all.
One of your Irish
Scandalous,
fans.
but nevertheless, God bless the Irish.
And listen, we're just looking
Not until next week when we play them at rugby.
Oh, okay. And then all bets are off, are they?
Well, I'm in real trouble because I'll be doing a tour of India. I'll be in Mumbai, and I'm trying to find an Irish pub. My Irish friends say there's an Irish pub in every single city on earth.
So I'm told,
Get a grip of yourself, Jeffrey.
You need to find one in Mumbai.
I've got to find one in Mumbai so I can watch the match.
Well, listen, we're just looking at some footage here from the Oscars overnight as well. And before we talk about your new book, the 5th in a series, Eddie Redmayne, big fan of his.
Fantastic achievement.
And your wife, Mary, at Cambridge, knows Stephen Hawking very well.
Yes, she was showing... She's now, of course, chairman of the Science Museum. And Stephen Hawking very kindly came up to the Science Museum to show the big winner of a competition round, and Mary, as chairman, of course, was with him. He said he thought Redmayne was pretty good, but was lacking something. So Mary was silly enough to say, "What's he lacking, Stephen?" He said, "My good looks."
Yeah. I think that's a crack he made at the BAFTAs as well when he came
He did
at the
it, did
BAFTAs. Yeah. It wasn't... Yeah, I know you've seen the film and I saw the film. It was a fantastic
I agree. I love the film.
Yeah.
Knowing Stephen a little, I don't know him well, Mary does. He's a staggering man. To have lived to 72 alone. He's broken all known records for people with motor neurone disease. It's a staggering achievement.
Well, that in itself is a special thing, but he's clearly here for something special, isn't he?
Yes, and the film I loved it.
I did
Absolutely.
too. I like the gentleness of it, particularly.
Yes, it was very English.
Felicity Jones and playing his wife.
It was
really
very
gentle.
English.
It was lovely. Well, thank you for commenting on that because it's very newsworthy. He's just won the Oscar, so that's always great. A British Oscar, always a good thing. So the Clifton Chronicles. This is 5 books. You've written the 5th, and you're still standing. 5
of the 7 have been done now. Number 5 will be out on Thursday. And I heard just before I came to the studio that the pre-sales are up 20% on the last book. So clearly, the public are like your Aunt Nance.
It's more than just Nance, yeah.
Out there enjoying it.
Do you still love the writing process as much as ever?
Well, it's hard work, of course it is. But yes, I enjoy it immensely, partly because the series, and there are going to be 7 books in all, this is the 5th one. The series has given such pleasure. For me, and at the age of 70, I made the decision to write the 7 books. Then they were going to be 5 of these 3 young people born in Bristol, born in the West Country of England, Harry Clifton, Emma Barrington, and Giles Barrington, and how their lives would intertwine. And I didn't know if it had 5 books in it or 7 books in it. I didn't have a clue. And it's been terrifically exciting. And the shock has been, because wiser people told me afterwards, if you write a series, Geoffrey, the numbers drop off. That is a fact of life.
Yours went up.
They've gone up 4%, 8%, and this one is up 20%. So the public have broken the rules on this one. For her, I'm very grateful.
Well, you said there you didn't know if it would be 5 books or 7, and life's like that, though, isn't it? We don't know
very much. I mean, what happened
how many
was I got
chapters
to
we've
book
got.
5. I got to book 5, and Harry was only 41. Emma was 39. The wicked, evil Virginia was 39. Giles was 41. It meant kill 'em off in the next book. Well, I couldn't do that, so I went back to the publishers and said, I know how number 5 is going, but I can't kill them off. So I decided on 7, and this is number 5, and 7 it will be.
I was reading about the discipline that you apply to your writing, and I'm going to try and apply it to my working days as well. Extraordinary discipline and real, as well as the I think is it 4-hourly stints of writing?
Four sets of 2 hours.
Yeah, with gaps.
6 to 8 in the morning, 10 till 12, 2 till 4, 6 to 8, with breaks clearly in between when I eat and write, eat and walk, and do other things. But I couldn't live without the discipline. I'm not someone who's lucky enough to be able to pop in and do 3 or 4 hours and have a Guinness and.
But you see, I'm not sure there is
such. If I don't keep to a routine, I'll break down.
But no, I think the routine is the way to do it, because I think you say you're not somebody who's lucky enough to be able to stroll in, do 3 hours and go for a pint. I think, aren't they the procrastinators who actually don't get the 7 books written?
Maybe they don't get them written, but it still wouldn't suit me. And my wife's the same. I'm a totally disciplined person who works very hard, and I suppose that has bred itself on me, so that's the way I like to write, and I will go on writing. And each of them are handwritten. Mightier Than the Sword is handwritten, word for word. I don't use any machinery. The first draft takes about 300 hours, 50 days, and the book you have in front of you, it's the 14th draft.
Which now belongs to my Auntie Nance, just so you know. You've signed it now. Yes. That's it. She's going to get it.
She should be interviewing.
She almost is, really, isn't she? Tell me, I read an interesting comment of yours about the difference between being a writer and a storyteller, a good writer or a good storyteller. And you felt that storytelling, I agree with you, that storytelling is a...
Well, the Irish, and you seem to have some Irish blood in you.
I do. Only
the
Irish blood.
call it, as you know, a shanachie, meaning you can tell a story. That's a God-given gift. The ability to write well probably comes from a good education, being well read, and being sort of in the middle of everything. But the ability to say once upon a time and make you turn the page, that's a God-given gift. And if you get it, you're very, very lucky.
And I wanted to, maybe clumsily, I don't know, link that to the upcoming general election and the various parties. Obviously, there's one you're most familiar with, but the parties' narratives, because every party always, but particularly towards a general election, needs a strong narrative. How do you see the conservative narrative?
Seen a weaker narrative, in the sense that if you had said to me when I was running the marginal seats during the general election, what would the result be, please, Geoffrey? I'd have said, well, this one the Conservatives are going to win by 62. The next one, I could have said 120. Then I could have said the Labour Party will win by 30. The Labour Party will win by 120. You could see it. With this one, I haven't got a clue. It could go in any direction.
But that's like your books.
And yes, very much like Mightier Than the Sword. But the truth is that I don't think even experts have a clue where this one is going. The public, it's going to be 400 by-elections. That's how I see it. Ooh. It's going to be very weird indeed, with some very strange results.
It's an interesting way to put it, 400 by-elections.
I'm fairly sure we'll have a coalition. I'm just not sure what that coalition will be made up of.
But when it comes to, for example, the Conservative Party narrative, how do you see it? Does it, if you were to write it, if it was, second to last chapter ahead of a general election, what would you inject into that story?
Well, of course, you'd have to, as a writer, with 90 days to go, inject some things that you weren't expecting, because that always happens in politics. There'll be things happening over the next 90 days that you just weren't expecting, and you're shocked by, and they happen. By the way, they can happen with 3 days to go. If you look at Neil Kinnock losing the election over his speech in Sheffield, none of us could have anticipated that. I was in Plymouth that night. I had actually told the Prime Minister, John Major, that he'd made a brilliant speech in Sheffield. They cheered and cheered him, and he'd had a massive audience. And then it turned out the next day that it turned the election in John Major's favour.
Well,
so you can't anticipate that.
But in a sense, haven't we had one of those unexpected events overnight? It occurs to me. And
yes, but it affects both
Rifkind
parties.
and Straw. It does indeed, not just one
They're
party.
equally, neither party are going to be, no party is going to leap ahead because of it.
It's going to gain because of it.
So the two main parties.
What do you think about it? From what you've seen and heard?
Well, I know both men. I don't know Jack Straw well. We first met in a television studio when we were young students, and he was head of the student union. He's had a brilliant and distinguished career. Foreign Secretary, Home Secretary. He's only got a few more weeks to go in Parliament. I do hope that people will remember the service he's given his country. And with Malcolm, of course, Malcolm Rifkin's an old friend, a distinguished Foreign Secretary, Secretary of State for Scotland, Secretary of State for Defence. Are they really going to go to their graves with this the only thing people remember? I hope there'll be a backlash in tomorrow's papers. And from
What,
the
against
people.
the sting?
I hope people will stand up and say, wait a moment. If either of them had gone into private life, I can't speak for Jack Straw because I don't know him that well, but Malcolm would have been a QC and made an absolute fortune. Instead, he decides to be a member of Parliament. So whatever, and I don't really like this, you're guilty before you've got a chance even to prove your case. I don't like that at all. So I hope there'll be a backlash tomorrow.
Does it not show that, I mean, even 20 odd years on from your difficulties with the press, does it not show that people in this day and age have to be super, super careful?
We've come to that state. You're quite right. You're 100% right. In fact, I wonder why anyone goes into politics, because if you do something well, they don't mention it. If you do something badly, it's a front page story. I give a minor example in my own tiny life. I did an auction quite recently for Sir Magdi Yacoub, the great heart surgeon, for Chain of Hope, and raised £1,783,000 in one night. And the headline the next morning was David Mellor in a taxi. And I thought, well, there'll be some mention of 1,000,007, not a mention in any newspaper. It is true. We have now reached a stage where the press, actually, bad stories is what they're looking for.
OK, well, listen, it's been a pleasure to meet you. And let's finish on a good thing. The book, Jeffrey Archer, 5 of 7, Mightier Than the Sword. Good luck with it.
Thank you very much indeed.
I doubt you'll need it, but thanks very much indeed. It's 3:00.
On FM, online, on your mobile and on digital radio. Leading Britain's